Hi, thanks for joining us. This is Angie Carpenter, Islip Town Supervisor with Supervisor Spotlight. And we're here in the studios at Long Island MacArthur Airport, Long Island News Radio 103.9 on your dial. And we're very grateful to their graciousness in allowing us to do our show from here. And today we have as our guest the Superintendent of Schools for Islip Schools in the hamlet of Islip, in the wonderful town of Islip, and that is Sue Schnebel. Sue, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Always a pleasure to be with you.
And we feel like we've already had a little bit of a show because we've been sitting here chatting, and then they reminded us we're supposed to be doing our show. So it's delightful for me to have this opportunity to visit with you, really. Sort of bittersweet because Sue announced earlier this year that she would, or last year, that she would be retiring, finishing her school year. So that's a bit of a disappointment for me because I've enjoyed working with you in your role as the superintendent and I as the supervisor. Islip's been one of those go-to districts for me in my tenure when we're trying to keep that connection between the schools and the town government. And you've been extraordinary, as most of the superintendents across the town have been. It's been really wonderful. So anyway, after 10 years, you are retiring. How does it feel?
It is bittersweet, as you said.
Yeah.
This has been it will be a 10-year run, and I have thoroughly enjoyed my time in Islip. More importantly, because of the nature of the town of Islip School District in the township of Islip. What happens in Islip schools is reflective in the town, and what happens in the town is reflective in the school district. So there's a wonderful partnership that we have with you and everyone else, the vendors and all of that. And I have been very fortunate to have been embraced by the community after all this time, and the students as well. So I've always wanted a large family. I never wanted 2,800 children, but I don't have to do their laundry and feed them. But it is a wonderful opportunity, and I will definitely miss the students and the family and the work. But after 10 years, and as you know, I put a lot of time and effort into what I do. I'm at every event, and it's been nights. And for 10 years, I've kind of neglected my family, and it's time now for me to be a wife and a mother again.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's great. That's great. And it's kind of neat to leave on your terms, and 10 years is a long time. And I think it's got to be kind of special that this is your first superintendency, and this is where you're leaving from. So you've spent your entire time as a school superintendent, obviously many, many years of education experience before that, but as superintendent in one district.
Yes, and I think that's part of it because there's such a bond.
Yeah.
The Islip Buccaneers, as I always will joke, I will continue to bleed purple. And I have all of the cloth that goes with it, so it's going to be wonderful. A part of the decision is making it a little bit easier for me as my whole family has relocated over time out to Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of the school year, come sometime in July, we will be relocating out there. I have two sisters and a brother and nieces and nephews. So it's going to be truly a new adventure for me. And I'm looking forward to being with family.
Relocating, I know my sister just recently relocated actually back to where she had spent many, many years south, and it is an adventure. You're coming into, a new home, a new neighborhood, new neighbors, new shopping experiences, and it's like being on vacation, and discovering all of these things around. So we really wish you well.
Thank you very much.
But I'm sure that you'll come back to visit. You have to come back to New York.
I will definitely be back.
Yeah.
And the challenge came last evening. We do in Islip a Night of Champions twice a year, and we had many of our athletic teams who did so well, either from the sports perspective or from academics and our fine and performing arts students and many of our teachers. And the challenge was laid out there that if our soccer team next year makes it to the county championships again, if I would fly back, and I said I would. So,
how awesome.
So I will be back.
That's really given them the incentive, and I know
there
that
you go.
We were at an event, and there was discussion about the soccer team, and they did win, that particular event that night.
Yes, they did.
And I think we had them at Town Hall. And Sue was there, and you can tell when she talked about 2,800 kids, an extended family, you get that sense when you see Sue in action as the superintendent, but she's kind of like the mom. There is a real, true relationship that exists between she and her students, and I really applaud you for that, and how wonderful an experience it has to be for the kids, because being the superintendent, you're the chief, education officer, if you will, for the district. I mean, you run the district, and certainly you don't do it alone, and you've got your building principals and a great team of people working with you, but you're where the buck stops. But to be able to do that and still walk that line of making people feel that you're approachable, and that you're in it together is a beautiful thing to watch.
Well, thank you.
I really salute you for that.
Thank you. The job itself behind closed doors, as you know, as a supervisor of a very large organization, can be daunting and can be lonely. Because the buck stops at the top.
Absolutely.
So it's important then to reach out. So to reach out to the community and the parents, specifically the children. So if you're having a tough day, I can walk out my office and I can go join in on the soccer field, or go to a basketball game, or go sing with the students who are preparing for a school musical, or go down and carve pumpkins with the elementary students. It's really wonderful. So the football team has nicknamed me Mama Schnebel, which is always fun. And so we have a wonderful time. But it's going to be tough that last month.
And you talk about those opportunities in the Islip district in particular. There is a woman who prepares a Thanksgiving dinner. So the superintendent is there with her team, sharing Thanksgiving, and others in the community. And I've been fortunate to be invited to.
Mrs. Leggio is a wonderful cook.
Mrs. Leggio is a wonderful cook, and exudes hospitality and loves doing it. And the kids, kind of peek in and see what's going on. It's really kind of cool. So, education today in this environment. Tell us about it. How, in the 10 years, from the perspective of a superintendent, if you will, let's begin there, has it changed with technology and the dynamics of social media and everything else that's going on today?
There has been I started my career in 1974. As an elementary school teacher, but now as you look at what's happening today, there is so much that affects the students, to your point, whether it is technology is one issue. There's also another issue with just the social environment in itself. So to give you a good example, now in Islip, 1 out of every 3 of our students is a free and reduced lunch child. So that brings challenges for the student as a learner. So you have to prepare the students to be ready to learn. They just can't come in and sit down and open up a book and they're there. So we have all of that to go through. We also have the new rigorous standards that have come in. That has also put an additional bit of pressure on students and families, and obviously the schools. But truly with the social media piece, that does become cumbersome. Students now are feeling more anxious. There's more depression for students. The social media attachment to their phones. It's easy to do cyberbullying because there's no face to it, and you can do it at any time of day. You can make a statement. Students don't read the tone of the message. It might not have meant to be inappropriate, but because it's not face-to-face, it becomes a challenge for all of the superintendents in Suffolk County. That's one of the things we've been working on this year, is to do mindful education.
It's interesting that you talk about people will say things on social media. There's no face there, make comments that maybe at times are less than gracious. Let's put it that way. And I can relate to that because we see that in government too. It's a lot different than it used to be. And let's talk a little bit about those specifics of social media, because I think there's a real parallel between the two. But for now, we're going to take a little bit of a break and ask that you stay with us here at Supervisor Spotlight when we go on with our visit with Sue from the Islip School District. Thank you. Hi, this is Supervisor Angie Carpenter here in the studios of 103.9 Long Island News Radio as we're visiting today with Sue Schnebel at our Supervisor Spotlight. And we were talking before the break a little bit about social media and the difference that it makes in education, the difference it makes in government. It is a whole different time, and I know from our perspective in government, I've been involved about 25 years. And as a member of the Suffolk County Legislature, you're an advocate in your community. People bring issues to you. They called you. They would come by the legislative office. They would write. There was no email. There was no texting. There wasn't Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter. None of that was there when I started out. In fact, I can remember being in that office and not even having a computer. We had a memory typewriter and a copier. Yeah, in 25 years. But you don't realize, where things that we deal with today and take for granted today weren't even a thought back then. But so the increase in the number of issues that are brought to an elected official's attention have increased dramatically because people 24/7 can be reaching out to you, texting, emailing, going on Facebook, any time of the day or night, where they weren't relegated to when you had hours, so to speak. So the whole, number of complaints that you have to deal with have increased. But the fact that people can do things more anonymously but put it out there publicly, I'm wondering, I see it in the tenor of the meetings at town hall sometimes, that people will say things that are less than respectful when they're standing at a podium and speaking. Does that translate to a Board of Education meeting? Do you find that today, rather than 10 or 20 years ago when people come to the Board of Education, that they have a different demeanor about them?
Well, specifically for Islip, we're not seeing that issue at our Board of Education meetings. When we do have very interesting topics or topics that may affect a particular group of people, we will have more folks come out. But I will say this, thanks to all of the trustees that I've been working with over the past 10 years and many of the changes that we have made in Islip that have been positive. When it's positive, people don't come.
Isn't that the truth?
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
So it's when it's not positive, where they have a question or a concern, that's when some folks will show up. However, it doesn't mean, to your point, that someone still isn't saying something on social media.
Right.
Because of the anonymity that they can say what they need to say, and it doesn't always give us the opportunity to come back with the truth or the facts. And sometimes that will spread and there's misconceptions. So from a school district perspective, we have to do a lot of preemptive work. So much of what we have to get out on social media from our point of view is the positive piece. So for example, last year in partnership with Suffolk County PD, we had the K-9 squad come in, the drug sniffing group to come in, and we did it for twofold. One was to check our schools because we believe in health and safety of our students. The second was the dogs need practice, so they need to come into a school. So I had to be preemptive. I posted a letter on the website to parents, asked them to go there and look at it. That was helpful. If I had just had the event without giving them ample notice, that would have been another whole ball of wax. So we're trying to use it in a very positive way. But to take what you're saying even now to the student level, that's when we're finding it to be much more egregious, because students, again, anonymously or not, they will say things in social media where there's a misconceived tone that maybe not exactly what they wanted to say. Everybody's reading it. There's a buzz about it on Monday morning when you come into school. Students are embarrassed. They're anxious. The rate of anxiety and depression for students today has been well noted. At a recent survey for all of New York State superintendents, we do a survey now for we've done it for 7 consecutive years. Every superintendent has said if they had additional funding from the government, from the state, we would put it into mental health. Because we're working with students, with our social workers, our guidance counselors, on how to handle the issues that are happening on social media. The latest concern we have is Snapchat. you can say whatever you want, and it disappears. So they can't even bring to us anything that we can put into the code of conduct because we have no proof.
Gotcha.
So it becomes very blurred, but yet again, the community looks to the school to fix it and to help it. And it really is a social issue across the country. It's not just...
It's true. And, you know, the statement you made about the community comes to the school to fix it. Sometimes people think that we can cure it all, whether it be government or the school, as far as students are concerned. But it's got to be a partnership. It has to be, I think, the parents working with the schools. They can't expect you to make it all right by yourselves. There's got to be an education component that happens in the home to what is appropriate and not. And I think, too, the fact that kids need to have parameters. They need to have parents. We were having this conversation just the other day that you can't worry about, I think, your kids being your friends. You know, they need you to be a parent. They need you to set down the rules, the parameters, and live by it and expect them to behave in an appropriate fashion. And yeah, they're not going to like you sometimes, but I think that comes with the responsibility that one takes on when they do have children, that you owe it to them to be their parent. What do you think?
I agree. And I think one of the things that we've tried to be very mindful of is getting that information out to parents, getting them the code of conduct, having policies posted on a website, working closely with our PTAs. And we have what's called an SOE committee, Standards of Excellence. And on these committees in each building, there are parents and there are staff members. And at the high school, there are students who sit on these committees as well. We can have these discussions and get the input of the parent, because it's always helpful for us to be able to say, well, this is what was decided with all of the stakeholders. We also have a community council where all stakeholders come. So we have our PTA parents, Booster Club, the fire department, Suffolk PD comes, faith-based organization comes, and we will bring them these conversations and say, what can you bring to the table? What can you help us do our job better? And how can we help you do your job better? So the PTA from one building can help another one. And then we have Yes is at our table. So they can say, well, we have this available to you. We can offer a workshop on this. So you do need to have what we started talking about, the wonder of Islip, is that collaborative effort that we have that we can help put together and put it there. And when you lay the parameters out there and everybody knows what the rules and regulations are, that's quite beneficial.
And the fact that you said it very well, doing things collaboratively, not one person has all of the answers, but if you're willing to pull all those stakeholders together and realize that, especially with children, this is our future. You know, the day will come that we'll retire and go off into the sunset or sit back and relax. Many years going forward for me, hopefully. But you want to know that you're leaving it in good hands. And involving everyone in the process truly is the way to do it. No one person has all of the answers. There's no magic wand to wave and make it all better. And the minute you start thinking that you do know it all, you're doomed.
Absolutely.
You know?
I agree. I mean, even for things as simple as when we went out for a bond to do all of the wonderful work that we've been doing at our schools to upgrade the facilities, the people who were on the committee were community members.
And that's the way to do it. They had to have the buy-in. They had to understand. It's easy.
That's correct.
What is that saying about it's important to have people in the tent instead of outside shooting arrows of it? They have to be educated. They have to really know the process, and involving them is really the way to do it. And we try to do it, you know, in town too, with things like ITV and the show, you know, just talking right there to the public and letting them know where we're at on an issue. So if you will, stay with us. We'll be discussing more issues with Sue here on Supervisor Spotlight. Thank you. Welcome back to Supervisor Spotlight. I'm Town of Islip Supervisor Angie Carpenter in the studios here today at Long Island News Radio at Long Island MacArthur Airport. In fact, I think a flight just came in. With us today, we have the Superintendent of Schools of Islip, the Islip Hamlet in the town of Islip, Sue Schnebel. Sue, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
We've been chatting about quite a number of things and the changes over the years in education, and things like SHOP and home economics that were courses that were offered when I was in school probably don't exist today. So tell us about some of the innovations, some of the new things that kids can look forward to when they come to school.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be able to share this information with you. We started a few years ago, and much of our work came from speaking to our graduates when they left us. Mm-hmm. And some of the data that we were looking at, students would be going off to college thinking they may want to go into the field of business and then end up after a year or two changing their mind, going someplace else. Their 4-year degree is now a 6-year degree, and parents are spending a lot of money. And then you realize that what jobs are out there for them, and the future is changing. So we started putting in place and listening to the students. And one of the things we did find out was that college and career ready can be college, it can be career, and together they become college and career ready. So we had many of our students who were going off to college, staying for a semester or two, leaving, and then going to their passion, which was cosmetology. So we opened up a cosmetology lab. We were spending a few $1,000s, more than a few, to send 2 children to BOCES, lovely young ladies, at almost $25,000 a year. Through BOCES, they had a wonderful program, but we couldn't afford to send more than that in light of the financial pieces. So we thought maybe we could bring that home, and we did. Through a grant, we were able to put a cosmetology in place. We had a staff member who was certified. We now have 16 students in our COS program.
Oh, isn't that great?
They will leave us with 7 certifications, including barbering. We open it up to the community on Saturdays, certain Saturdays a month, for free. You can get your hair cut, dyed, get your nails done. For special events for our senior citizens, they can come before Thanksgiving, before the holidays, get their nails done, get their hair done. We ask for donations, which help pay for the kits for the students. That does not go into our school budget. And they're helping do work with our school play. And the wonder of Islip, the town of Islip, the local beauty salons are taking the girls and gentlemen in because they need 500 hours. So we're going to have these young men and women leave us prepared to earn a living, which is outstanding. So then we also took a look at what could we give them for different venues to try things. So one of the pieces that we did try is, which is great success, is it's called, it's one of our business programs, it's called Virtual Enterprise. And it's a software package, it's national and I believe global, and you pay for the fee, and students create their own companies. You must come and visit this.
Oh, I will.
And they have a payroll department, HR, they have a CEO, they have a CFO. Everything is taken care of. They have to have code of ethics. They have to have training. They build a company from the bottom up, their own websites, their portfolios. They have to put a plan in place. And then you compete nationally. We just entered the regional competition at Farmingdale. I was there the other day on Monday. We were snowed out from Thursday. We have 2 companies. One is Fresh Direct, which you will, and of course this is all virtual. You can buy the packages, they get shipped to your home, and there's all your meals included. They won 5 medals.
Oh, isn't that awesome?
And our 2nd-year program, which is Prestige Worldwide, which sells backyard lifestyle changes, so you don't have to go away for a vacation. You can have a wonderful vacation in your own backyard. They took 3 medals, and they're in their 2nd year. They will be going for the New York City Regional Championship coming shortly. But the beauty of this is our students are no longer going to college going for business administration. They're saying, I want to be an accountant. Gotcha. I want to do the media end of it. I want to be the CFO. I want to be the CEO. I need certain skills. Now they take a certain communication class to help them with their public speaking, how to put things together, the tech classes. So it's really incredible. We have a teacher prep program. do you think you may want to go into education? So we have a child development class, and then on the every other day, we bus the students to our elementary building. They get to spend an hour and a half in the classroom to see if you really like it. So that's really very, very important. We're also starting some new courseware for the students for next year, which I think is very, very interesting. We hear from our students that when they go off to college, they're missing basic skills that used to be taught at home that are no longer being done in the house.
Right.
So we figured we're going to pitch in and help. So we have a new class coming in calling Career and Financial Survival for students, and it's going to teach them all about credit cards, debit cards, banking, insurance, if you need to rent an apartment, car insurance, what you do with your regular banking, if you want to invest in the financial end of it and the market. So they really have a true understanding of what earned money means and how you can spend it. We have a class that we're putting in place for students who may need assistance and help in actually planning a career, planning to go to college. They're going to learn how to write resumes, how to do applications. What are the forms for if you need to do financial assistance? And we're going to help them get through that. And we're also going to do a brand new one we're very proud of, Contemporary Issues for Women's Health. So that will bring in a lot of clinicians, and doctors will be our guest speakers. It will be about healthy lifestyles, nutrition, exams that you need to have, women's exams. We're going to be talking about date rape, what you need to do to be prepared if you're going off to college, all different types of things for our students.
Well,
so we're
anyone listening now, has got to say, oh my gosh, that is absolutely incredible. And on a number of levels, it not only, well, first of all, on a financial level, because you're going to have children that are graduating who have more of a sense of focus and purpose and know what they want to do. So you're not going to have the 6-year degrees. Hopefully you're going to have 4-year degrees, or maybe it's 2-year degree, and maybe it's no degree. Maybe it's like you're saying,
cosmetology.
It's cosmetology and being able to get out into the field right away. But all of the other things that you've mentioned, it is so remarkable when you think about how school used to be and how the needs are so different.
Yes.
And how in our own town, in the hamlet of Islip, those needs are being met in an extraordinary way.
Oh, thank you. The other piece we also tried to help our students with, particularly our community members, is we have partnerships with 5 local colleges. So if you're going into the business end of it, again, whether it's virtual enterprise or not, our students can earn 18 college credits from Farmingdale University. Well, that's at a very reduced rate.
That's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, because I remember when I was in the legislature, and at the time I chaired the education committee for the community college, I had a conversation with the superintendent of Bayshore schools at the time, who said that it bothered her that so many of her students didn't even think about the thought of going to college, and we introduced them to Suffolk Community. And
one of our strong partnerships is Suffolk.
One of that program is existing today. It started when we brought them over to the campus, and they marveled at what was there at Suffolk County Community College. And the kids were able to earn the credits and be ready for college, where they hadn't, a lot of times they were the first child in their family to even entertain the idea of going to college. So, I have to tell you, I am so thrilled, and I know what we're talking about here today is being replicated in the other districts. But to those policymakers, to those visionaries, members of the boards of education, the parents, and the communities that support these kind of initiatives, we are very, very lucky and very, very blessed. And to have someone like yourself, at the helm, and you've left something in place for someone else to emulate when they come in.
I thank you for that, but I think you said it very well. We've been very fortunate. I have been very fortunate, and my team has been fortunate through the trustees in the town. We've had the opportunity to put many of these things in. We've done it with as little increase as possible to our budget, substituting what wasn't working with which has worked, and I hope that we have put a system in place that will take our students even farther.
Well, just listening today, anyone listening out there, I think can say Islip has been in good hands, and you've laid the groundwork for those future generations of students coming through Islip schools. I thank you for being here, and I thank all of you for listening and watching out there on Supervisor Spotlight here at Long Island MacArthur Airport. Thank you so much.